Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Rowe on 1290 WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Time once again for the monthly Monday morning meeting with the mayor. Mayor Rudy Wright joins us. We're going to talk about things happening here in the city of Hickory. And, of course, as always, we want you to call in, 327-WHKY, 327-9459. You look relaxed. You look comfortable. Did you get a little vacation time in?
Well, I did. I think I've sent you a couple of pictures of my trip to Alaska.
Yes. Now, tell us a little bit about that, just briefly. This is not how I spent my summer vacation. We'll get on to some more important things. But now,
first of all, I'd like to say I wore my Hickory hat all the time.
I noticed in your picture you had a Hickory hat on.
I wore my Hickory hat, and it just creates conversation. I was having a conversation with somebody, and he said, "Tell me about Hickory," and I told him. He said, "You ought to be the mayor."
Did he really?
I said, "I am."
Funny that you should mention that.
So, but it gives me a chance to have conversation, and we stayed at a little place called the Connect River Lodge, and it's one of these places you drive 9 miles to the end of the paved road. Then you drive 2 miles to the end of the unpaved road.
Wow.
And then you're out there, just you and the bears and a few other hardy souls, okay? The person who took my reservation is from Lake Toxaway, North Carolina.
Oh, really?
And the young lady, honest to goodness, the young lady who checked us in the next morning said, "Oh, I'm from those parts. My grandparents still live in Morganton."
Wow. So you went to Alaska. It felt like old home week because you're talking to people from around here.
I went through. There's a place, Talkeetna, Alaska.
You've done well with the language, sir. Either you're making this up and it just passes, or you've done well.
Well, I do the phonetization. Is that the right word? I phoneticize. That's not a word, is it?
You can do the name of this lake up in Alaska.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
But I do the southern pronunciation.
There you go.
So Talkeetna.
Very nice.
But I think that is the way they pronounce it up there. Right. And Talkeetna, I think that's an old Indian word, means the end of the world. But it is the jumping off place for the people who hike the top of Denali.
Oh, really? Huh.
And it's also the air strip for the flight seeing over Denali.
Very nice.
It's an interesting cast of characters in there, and I'm walking through this the town park, which is about, well, it's a lot smaller than Kiwanis Park, and I'm walking through there, and I've got my Hickory hat on, and this guy is playing bocce. Yeah. And he looked like he was a native and had lived there all his life.
Yeah.
And he hollered, "Hey, bro, I'm from Lincolnton."
How about that? So Lincolnton, Morganton, all these folks are up there in Alaska.
But that was a lot of fun. But Alaska, I recommend the trip if anybody, you need to do Alaska. It's we saw and some of this is a little, if you pardon the pun, grizzly, but we saw a grizzly eating a baby moose. Hey, bears got to eat.
All right, nature.
Right, bears got to eat.
Right.
And we had an eagle. We took a wildlife and glacier cruise one day. And we saw an eagle swoop down across the bow of our boat with a fish wriggling in its talons. And it flew up partway on the bank and did what an eagle does to a fish.
Wow. Well, it had to be a wonderful experience for you.
It was wonderful. And, of course, this is my second time. I went with my son back in '96. And it's changed a lot, but not for the awful worse. It's
right.
It's a little. The population has grown up there, but again, I recommend the trip if you get a chance.
Took a look at the agenda for the upcoming Hickory City Council meeting, and it looks like there's a big thank you to Connie Kincaid and the Crawdads for the All-Star game that they had here in Hickory. Talking about spreading the good word, we had an opportunity here to have some folks doing some cornhole downtown and to get to see that, and the All-Star game right here packed out LP Friends Stadium. Wonderful opportunity to get the word about Hickory out right here all throughout these great baseball clubs in the South Atlantic League. So that had to be a great thing for our city.
Well, it is, and then coming right behind it is something that a lot of times we want to take for granted, or we might take for granted, but the Greater Hickory Classic is a tremendous asset for us in so many ways, and we've got a lot going for us here in Hickory, and we've got to take advantage of what we have going and build on it, and I think the future is bright for us.
Greater Hickory Kia Classic coming up, of course, in October this year. Looking forward to that. And we're going to have another great time for Oktoberfest being in downtown Hickory. And a lot of people here in our area enjoying that and coming in. And then people from all around the region and sometimes the nation coming in for the Greater Hickory Kia Classic golf tournament. So you're right.
And to watch the Lenore Ryan football team.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be
ranked 4th or 5th in the nation this year going in, and that is just tremendous. We're so proud of them.
I'm going to ask you when we come back from the break, because we have just a moment before we go to the break. And first of all, I want to make sure that this is something, because I think I've got this right from our conversations prior, that you can talk about, and of course that's about the upcoming bond referendum. I do want to speak about that briefly, and that is something, because you're not actually an employee of the city of Hickory, something you can talk about.
Well, I can talk about it. I need to talk about it. I want to talk about it. The people of Hickory elect us officials to do what we think is best for the people of Hickory.
We'll come back and talk about that, the bond referendum, next monthly Monday morning meeting with the mayor. Phone lines are open, 327-WHKY, 327-9459. More First Talk after this commercial break. Good morning. The monthly Monday morning meeting with the mayor this morning. Call us, 327-WHKY, 327-9459. Don't send me an email later. Call us now. We want your phone calls on the air, 327-WHKY, 327-9459. Mayor takes the time to come in and join us. He wants your phone calls. We do as well. You'll call in. Susie will pick up the phone, put you on hold, and you'll join us live on the air. So give us a call this morning, 327-WHKY, 327-9459.
But if you decide later that you do want to call, don't call Hal. Call me on my cell phone, 238-1465. I'll answer it, and I'll talk to you.
There you go. You said before we moved on with the bond referendum, you did want to make a comment regarding Anchorage, Alaska, and the fact that you found it to be a beautiful city.
It's a beautiful city, and it has the kind of things that people are expecting in cities these days. It had. My wife loves all the hanging flower baskets she saw. They are gorgeous, and but I. Really appreciated the walkways and bikeways. They have one of the leading systems of non-street transportation in the United States.
Really?
Now you share it with grizzlies and black bears and moose, but now we did encounter moose on the walkway
in Anchorage.
In Anchorage,
moose on the walkway.
1,200 moose are officially resident in Anchorage, and 400 bears.
In Anchorage.
In Anchorage. We missed a black bear by just seconds. We were looking at the moose, as a matter of fact, and a guy.
That's how they get you. Yeah. You're looking at the moose, the black bear. They got it worked out.
Yeah. It's a symbiotic thing, and so we're looking at the moose, and the guy comes up and says, "There's a black bear right around the corner." And we got there, the black bear was gone. But I don't know whether we're probably not going to import moose and grizzlies, but we could have a bikeway with possums, raccoons, and
we got groundhogs,
right? Yeah,
chipmunks, all the good stuff. I'm going to ask you about the bond referendum. $40 million. But and it's going to be broken basically into two parts of a referendum. From what I understand, we're still working on the wording, and it will be on the November ballot. Tell us about it, because if I'm not mistaken, we're going to have a second reading at a city council meeting regarding putting this together and putting it on the ballot?
Well, it's we're not going to spend the $40 million all at once. We'll spend, if it's passed, we will spend, let's say, $10 million in the first year or the first 18 months.
Right.
So we'll be drawing on the approved bond proceeds. But our objective is purely and simply one thing: the economy. This is not about Hickory is a great enough place to live that I don't need to have it improved in any way to enjoy living here the rest of my life, which I plan to do. But we are finding that we're having a tremendous loss in the population between ages 18 and 44. They're the ones who build careers, start businesses, have children. Okay, we're a tremendous loss in that category. And so what we are trying to do is take a little bit, impede that movement by having a city that specifically helps attract and retain the young people and the companies that hire them. And if we can do that, we think that we can help continue the progress we're already having. We're having tremendous progress. And Bob Winters, a former police officer who retired and moved to Ohio about 10 years ago to be where his wife's family is, I saw him at McDonald's. And he was visiting, and he said, I tell you, he said, I can't get over how great the city looks. All of these things that are happening. And I'm hearing that more and more from people. And the city has had a little bit to do with that progress. But it's been mostly private investment. I think if we will spend 40, we'll find private investors and philanthropists that'll do another 80. And we're going to make a difference. I sometimes say that the downside is we do all of this and we just live in a nicer city, a prettier city. But that's not our objective. Our objective, pure and simple, is economy.
The way that it's planned right now, how is the bond referendum going to look on the ballot in November? What are we going to be voting for? And basically, we don't have the exact language yet. We want to let people know this. But basically, from what I understand, there's going to be like an A and a B, and I can vote for one and not the other. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, one is called... I tell you what, you caught me off guard here.
That's all right, but just the basics is what I'm looking for. Yeah. Not the exact maybe verbiage, but basically what's one part going to go for, and what's the other part going to go for? From what I've heard, parks and paving.
Well, parks and paving paving actually is coming out of our regular ordinary budget. Okay.
Okay.
We might be able to speed it up a little bit with proceeds, but no, it's coming out of our ordinary everyday general fund budget. Okay. But we have what we call two buckets.
Okay.
That people can vote for.
Okay.
One bucket is transportation enhancements.
Transportation enhancements.
And that's very broad. And it does include bikeways, walkways, landscapes, gateways. And then the second part is just economic development. That's a business park.
Okay.
That is shell buildings. Get ready for a company that may locate here.
Okay.
If we can get ahead of the curve and have something ready for them to come to earlier than Greenville, South Carolina, for example.
More First Talk after this commercial break. We'll talk a little bit more about the bond referendum here on First Talk. Call us with your questions, your comments. We're talking about the bond referendum, the proposed bond referendum coming up in November. 327-WHKY, 327-9459. Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Rowe on 1290 WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Before we went to the break, we were talking about the two different buckets, if you will, that we may be looking at on the proposed upcoming referendum, bond referendum, that may be happening in November. And we're taking a look at one part of that being infrastructure, being parks, pathways, gateways, things like this. The other part being a spec building for an industrial park, or spec buildings for an industrial park. Again, economic development is the way that we're going to be looking at this. Is this correct?
It is all about the economy. Don't try to say this is beautification. Don't try to say it is beautification for an elite part of Hickory. This is for everybody in Hickory, and it's just for the economy.
What are some of the things that we may see? Where will do we know where the business park will be located? Do we know where some of these projects? We talk about gateways. I've heard about an interstate interchange. There may be something going on there. Tell us a little bit about what we may see, big picture, from the bond referendum.
Well, we have in process a rezoning of a property. It will involve annexation by the city of Hickory and rezoning of a property out behind the community college towards Startown.
Okay.
About 220 acres.
Okay.
And we plan to we hope to make a beautiful business park there. We have a contractor and investors interested in doing a spec business building that will have the walls and the high ceilings and the things that the businesses are looking for today.
Right.
Not quite ready for move-in, but close to ready for move-in.
Okay.
And then, our dream is to have let's call it a linear park, walkway, business district from Crawdad Stadium over to Geithner Park.
Okay.
That would incorporate the Lackey Conservatory and walking trails and bikeways and other amenities. The dream is that would go under a new 321 bridge,
right.
And a new 321 bridge is on the Department of Transportation list of projects.
Right.
And that walkway would go under there and extend all the way up to Crawdad Stadium.
Gotcha.
And then we hope that we would have some residential, some shops, some restaurants, maybe a play area for kids. I don't know what just whatever we could develop in the way of a mixed-use facility. And then we would hope eventually to have water taxi service. A lot of cities with lakes have water taxi service that will take you, somebody calls up from their home and says, yeah, we got a group here. Of course, most people who live on the lake will also have a boat. But a water taxi service take you from one side of the lake to the other. That would be down the road. It will happen someday, I believe, but I don't know how far down the road that is.
We've talked about the positives. I want to talk about what the detractors may be saying and what you're hearing from the people who may not be in favor of this. Because you hear both sides. And you probably hear it at your lunch table when you go out and have lunch somewhere, or people will come up to you, shake your hand. Hey, Mr. Mayor, I'm liking this, what I'm hearing for economic development, but I have some concerns. What are those concerns that you hear, and how do you address them?
Well, I honestly don't hear many detractors.
Okay.
First of all, people in 2001, City of Hickory per capita sales and property taxes was number 2 in the state. And there are ways to show that that's a plus and ways to show that it's a minus. But I have felt like we needed to control our tax burden during a very difficult time economically for us. We've gone from second in the state in 12 years to 22nd. Okay? It's absolutely phenomenal that we've gone from second to 22nd among the 35 cities in our peer group. So we've taken good care of the money. At the same time, we have invested in a new fire truck, and I think it's 15 or 18 guys that are needed to man a new fire truck 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have added police officers, and the budget cutting we've done has been in areas that are more discretionary.
Okay.
But at the same time, we've maintained a library, one of the top 2 or 3 library systems among the municipalities in the state. Most cities in North Carolina do not have libraries. The counties do all the libraries. We've chosen to have libraries, and that costs us, but we have a wonderful library system, and it's heavily used.
So getting back to the detractors, what do you hear?
I'm just not hearing very much. I'm going to be honest with you, because
all right, let me throw
the thing I hear occasionally is, well, you're going that I've seen in writing. Well, you're going to spend the money in some other part of town. We're going to spend this money for Hickory. We're not spending it for 9th Avenue and Center Street where I live. No. We're doing this for Hickory.
Let me throw one at you. Why should I trust the city with $40 million? Why should I? If I'm going to sign up for this, and I'm going to be paying more in my taxes, more in my property taxes, and whatever that is, whether it's a penny more, whether it's $1 more per 100, whatever that may be, whatever the number, because you hear different numbers. Why should I trust the city with $40 million to spend it and for economic development?
Well, the first reason is look at our track record for the last 12 years. The second reason is we're in it together with you. We're not a bunch of people sitting up there saying we're going to tax you and we're going to find a way to feather our nest. I'm going to pay a lot more taxes. Right, smart more taxes, and I'm willing to do it.
More First Talk after this commercial break. 327 WHKY, 327-9459.
And when we get back.
Good morning. Welcome back to First Talk with Hal Rell on 1290 WHKY Talk Radio for the Greater Hickory Metro. Talking about the bond referendum. Phone lines are open. 327-WHKY, 327-9459. Good morning, Eddie. You're on the air with First Talk, the monthly Monday morning meeting with the mayor. Thanks for calling. How you doing today?
Oh, fine, and thank you, Hal. Good morning, Mr. Mayor.
Good morning.
I can't hear you very well, but that's all right. I've got a question for you, sir. I was in my car a few minutes ago, and you were talking about proposed Park 1764. Did I hear correctly? You said you had an investor interested in that park?
I said we had an investor interested in doing a spec building in that park.
A spec building? Would you be able to divulge who that would be, sir?
What purpose would that serve, Eddie?
Well, tonight at 7 o'clock at the Startown Elementary School, there's going to be a meeting of people that do not want this park throughout the Startown area. We've had a mailing, we've got signs on the road, we've got petitions circulating, and we expect to have a very good turnout in protest to this. Quite frankly, we don't want Hickory annexing this 180 acres, sir. You called the area was larger than what you actually said. They're specifying 180 acres to be converted into this industrial park, which is in the middle of prime residential area. And that's what the protest is going to be about. We've had several meetings with Mr. Scott Millar. He's been very cooperative with us in providing information. But when you said you had an investor interested, that piqued my interest.
Yeah, we have an investor interested.
Okay, and he wants to put a spec building in there. Would you be able to tell me anything about that, sir?
I'll be absolutely honest with you. My recollection is that it's about 100,000 square foot building. That it and the landscaping and the other. We would like for this to be what's called a Type A business park.
Oh yes, sir. I'm familiar with that.
That would be one that. To be honest with you, except for peak hours when there could be some additional traffic, I know that there will be some additional traffic, but at other times you probably wouldn't even know there's a business park there.
Well, it looks like it's going to require an additional traffic light on Startown Road and also on Robinwood Road at Lutz Boulevard. That's from what we understand preliminary. And like I said, there's quite a few people that are against the idea of putting this park right there, and especially having it annexed by the city, because this is what's known as spot zoning. And spot zoning is not very popular.
Well, now you said not... The in terms of the annexation, you understand that we by law are prohibited from annexing anyone who doesn't want to be annexed, right?
Oh yes, sir. But once this is taken over by the county, with regard to a down payment of $200,000 for 7 years, the county would then be able to allow annexation.
Of just the property,
yes, sir,
that wants to be annexed.
Yes, sir, just that property, not additional property.
No additional property.
We can't have involuntary annexation, as you know.
That's right. And to be honest with you, I am a proponent of not forcing people to be annexed.
Well, I wish you would say that you're not going to force people to accept a business park in an area where the people do not want it. I wish you would say something like that.
Do you know anywhere in this area that we could say we're going to put a business park and 100% of the people would come out and say, I want it?
Well, we already have several in the county that are not being utilized, sir. I have a list of about 13 properties that I could supply to you. I'm not going to do it on the radio, but one of them is the Catawba Business Park, which is not fully utilized. We have several properties and many buildings that are not being utilized. And there's a lot of details in that, as you know, more than we have time to talk about. But we will be talking about this tonight at the Startown Elementary School at 7 o'clock, and we welcome everyone that's interested in this park to come down and hear about the park and what our concerns are.
Eddie, I'm just going to commend you and your fellow citizens there for exercising your rights in this great country we live in.
Well, I got one more thing to ask you, sir. How much of, as I understand it, from looking at the referendum briefly, because I don't live in Hickory, I understand that $2 million of the referendum is earmarked for infrastructure at this site. Am I correct on that? Do you know?
You honestly, you have me. I did not know that we had identified any amounts that specifically, but I don't know.
I believe I saw that on the website about the referendum, and $2 million is quite a bit of money to pump into it. You know?
I'm going to guess rather than an earmark that would be a ballpark.
All right, sir.
Eddie, thanks so much for your phone call.
All right, thank you much. We hope there's a good turnout tonight at this protest meeting at Starktown Elementary, 7 o'clock.
We got you taken care of?
Sir?
You got you taken care of, everything answered, everything you needed?
Well, pretty much. Yes, sir. I don't want to take a lot of time.
Eddie,
thank you very much, Al.
Eddie,
Mr. Mayor, have a good day.
Eddie?
Yes, sir.
As you go through this process, obviously, you caught me off guard a little bit this morning, but anything you need information on, my cell phone's 238-1465. I'll be glad to provide it.
Thank you very much, sir.
Eddie,
Yes, sir.
thanks so much for the phone call.
Yes,
really
sir.
do
Bye-bye.
appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye. 327-WHKY, 327-9459. Want to thank you very much for your time on the air. Got the last word. Go ahead. 30 seconds.
The reason I want to make this investment personally is I think I can either pay now or pay later. I can make this investment to make this a better place to live, attract, retain young people and the employers who want to hire them, or I can have difficulty selling my property at a fair price at some future date.
I want to thank you very much for your time this morning. The monthly Monday morning meeting with the mayor, we're going to go ahead and close the way we normally do, Monday through Thursday, with our national anthem.